Medicine in prehistoric times. In the early stages of human existence, medicine was linked to instinct and fear of the unknown. Primitive humans relied on observation and experimentation, using plants, roots, clay, and animal fats to treat wounds and illnesses. Diseases were often interpreted as the result of supernatural forces and evil spirits, so treatment was intertwined with magic and rituals. Despite the primitiveness of this stage, it formed the basis for the idea that illness could be intervened in and was not simply an inevitable fate. There were no scientists in the scientific sense, but the figure of the healer or shaman emerged. Medicine in civilizations of Mesopotamia, Sumerian, Babylonian, and Assyrian. In Mesopotamia, medicine began to take on a more organized character. Medical prescriptions were written on clay tablets, and the first classification of diseases appeared. Medicine was a combination of pharmaceutical treatment and religious incantations. Skin diseases, digestive system ailments, and fevers were known. Hammurabi's code included articles regulating the medical profession and holding physicians accountable for their mistakes, a very advanced step in the history of medicine. The most prominent features of this period were the first medical legislation, written documentation of prescriptions, and a partial separation between physician and priest. Medicine in ancient Egypt. In Egypt, medicine reached a high level of advancement. Egyptians practiced surgery, dentistry, and ophthalmology, and they understood anatomy through mummification. They believed that disease had both natural and spiritual causes, but they focused on scientific treatment. The Edwin Smith Papyrus is one of the oldest surgical texts in history and demonstrates a remarkable understanding of injuries and fractures. Imhotep was one of the most prominent physicians and is considered the first physician known by name in history, as well as the founder of rational medicine. Medicine in ancient Indian and Chinese civilizations. In India, Ayurveda emerged, focusing on the balance between body and spirit. Cosmetic surgery, especially rhinoplasty, became known. In China, traditional medicine based on energy, qi, acupuncture, and herbs developed. The characteristics of this period were the continued influence of the schools to this day, the focus on lifestyle, and preventative medicine. The most prominent names of this period were Huangdi, the founder of Chinese medicine, and Sushruta, a pioneer of surgery in India. Medicine in ancient Greece. Here, a radical transformation occurred. Medicine was separated from religion and mythology. Hippocrates believed that disease had natural causes and laid the foundations for diagnosis and clinical observation. The theory of the four humors emerged, and despite its scientific inaccuracy, it dominated medicine for centuries. The most prominent scientists of this period were Hippocrates, the father of medicine, and Galen, who developed anatomy and physiology. Medicine in the Roman era. The Romans relied on Greek medicine, but excelled in its scientific application. They focused on public health, establishing field hospitals, baths, and sewage systems. Galen became the primary medical reference for over 1,000 years, despite containing anatomical errors. Medicine in the East among the Arabs. This period is considered one of the most important stages in the development of medicine. Greek heritage and the books of Greek scholars and physicians were translated, and hospitals, bimaristans, and systematic medical education emerged, along with pharmacy as an independent science. The most prominent scientists of this period were Ibn Sina, who wrote the Canon of Medicine, Al-Razi, who distinguished between measles and smallpox, and Al-Zahrawi, considered the father of modern surgery. Medicine in Europe and the Middle Ages. European medicine experienced a relative stagnation due to the church held sway, but universities began to emerge. Physicians relied on the works of Ibn Sina and Galen. Surgery was performed by barbers, and epidemics like the plague spread. The Renaissance and the development of modern medicine saw a true revolution in anatomy. Andreas Vesalius corrected Gallen's errors by dissecting human cadavers. Observation and experimentation replaced blind imitation. The 18th, 19th centuries, the scientific medical revolution. Medicine emerged as a truly experimental science. William Harvey discovered the circulatory system. Germ theory was developed by Louis Pasteur and Koch. Anesthesia and sterilization were introduced, drastically reducing surgical mortality. Medicine in the 20th century witnessed an unprecedented development, transitioning from limited practice to a globally organized science. Modern pharmaceutical discoveries emerged, and the science of disease prevention advanced. Technological progress improved diagnostic methods and provided a more precise understanding of human bodily functions. Medicine has become a global institutional system based on scientific research, education, and international cooperation. Medicine in the 21st century is the age of gene therapy, artificial intelligence, robotic surgery, and personalized medicine. Medicine no longer just treats disease, but predicts and prevents it.